Hi there everybody, how are you all doing today? I hope you're doing well this weekend, and we are coming towards the end of January, so I wanted to talk to you about something which is pretty close to my heart, which is dry January. And this is something that a lot of people are potentially going through at the moment. We are now at the end of January, and a lot of people will be kind of counting down the days towards February the 1st in order to finish off their dry January and then get started back with some alcohol intake again. But what I wanted to talk to you about was, what if you didn't? So I did a lot of dry Januaries when I was younger. I basically used dry January as a way of resetting myself after the Christmas period. You've got Christmas and New Year, both back to back, both of which were heavy drinking times for me. I'd drink with family, I'd drink with friends. And as somebody who previously drank a lot in his life and drank throughout of the year, I would use dry January as a way of resetting myself for the month. But invariably, by the end of it, by sort of this time at the end of every year, I'd be counting down the days. I'd be ready for January to finish, and I'd be planning already. Probably got it planned out with my mates. We're going out on this day because dry January's over, and I can have a drink again. I'd already have it planned out, and I'd be really counting down the days towards it. This changed though in January of 2022. In 2022, I did dry January as normal, and as I got to this kind of time, I was kind of thinking, I'm not really that bothered about starting back up again. I'm not counting down the days to February the 1st. I'm not sort of wanting to get that alcohol intake again. Should I just carry this on a little bit? Maybe extend it. So January is 31 days long. Well, that's getting closer to 50 days, and that'd be a little challenge for myself. Well, 50 days came and went, and that same feeling had still not gone away. So I challenged myself to do sober spring, and then 100 days, and carried on until the point where now, 3 years later, I'm still sober. Over 3 years, 1 month later, I am still sober from dry January 2022. Now, this is something where I can't preach sobriety. I'm not going to preach sobriety because it doesn't work like that. If people want to go out and have a drink, then they absolutely should, because it is a social convention. Providing you're doing it in a healthy way, it's absolutely fine to go out and have a drink. But what I am going to do is talk through you the benefits of me going sober and what I have found since I went sober in January 2022, and the way that I kind of continued to do it. So, as I said, I started off by just challenging myself, and I've done this a couple of times before as well. So not only have I given up alcohol for dry January before, I've also given it up for Lent before, which is 40 days. And I gave up alcohol for 40 days one time, and then decided, well, 40 days isn't very far from 50 days, let's do 50 days. Again, day 51, I'm out having a drink with my friends. So this time was different. The feeling that I had towards the end of dry January was different. I felt healthier. I felt detoxed from all of those things. And whether it's a thing of getting older and hangovers become a lot worse when you get into your 30s, whether it's those sorts of things, and I was just pleased that I wasn't feeling that sort of way, I realised that I liked this feeling. I liked this thought of I can wake up in the morning and I'm not fuzzy-headed and I'm not sort of feeling down, and I felt generally fresher and happier with my life. So that was the initial reason of I don't feel like I want to start again, because I can recognise that these differences have occurred. And hopefully you can recognise that these differences have occurred during your month off from alcohol. It's the reason that we do it, is that we're trying to detox ourselves from those feelings. Hopefully that's worked for you and you do feel that way. So that was why I decided to challenge myself a little bit more and just keep pushing that challenge, that one step further each time. So, how did I do it? Well, first of all, those challenges just keep extending. I'm never going to complete my challenge because there's always a new challenge over the hill. So I went from dry January to 50 days to sober spring to 100 days to a year, essentially. So that was kind of the next one, 200 days, then a year. And then 2 years. 500 days comes in between that. 500 days, 2 years. 1,000 days, 3 years. So it just starts snowballing into, well, I'm never actually going to finish this challenge. Let's just keep going. There are trials throughout. There are times where it's incredibly difficult. Going out with friends into a pub environment is very, very, very difficult. And when I started all of this as well, I was playing in bands. I was playing music in bands. And the social convention of that is that, you have a pint. Most of the time I had a pint on stage next to me when I went and performed. So how did I get through these things? Well, I used an app. I used an app in order to help me track my progress, because that little app gave me that sense of fulfillment. It's called the Try Dry app, and it is designed for dry January, but it also you can use it throughout the entire year. And it's essentially a calendar app that you can type in your alcohol consumption. It will work out roughly how much money that you're saving. It'll work out how many calories that you've saved. It will work out a whole bunch of different information about you. And every day you go on and you check off on your app, I've stayed dry today. And it comes up with a big tick on the screen, and that is fulfilling. Seeing that on the screen when you're trying to do something is fulfilling. Now, you can use these apps for whatever you wanted, these sorts of apps, but seeing that tick come up on the screen of like, you have done this today, congratulations, is just incredibly fulfilling. It makes you feel like you've achieved something, and that makes you want to continue it. And those ticks in the early days of me giving up alcohol were my lifeline. The first 100, 200 days, that Try Dry app, I would go on it every single night as soon as I'd sort of got home from work and the shops around me were closed. So I know I'm not getting any alcohol today. I cannot get any alcohol today. And I would check that off, and it would just be a little tick that'd go up on the screen, and I'd feel better about myself. And I'd do that every single night. And as time goes on, you start finding that, well, I'm not going on the app quite so often. And maybe I'm checking it off once every 3 days. Once a week I'm checking it off, and I'm going back over the last week and I'm checking it all off. I actually went long enough that my app saved itself to the cloud, and I had to re-download it in order to actually check off, because it had been well over a month since I'd last checked my progress on this. When nowadays, coming up to being 3 years sober now. So that's how I actually went about doing it. Now, what are the health benefits for it? As I say, I feel fresher all of the time. Even just having 1 or 2 beers or 1 or 2 glasses of wine will make you wake up the next morning feeling fuzzy-headed. It's not a hangover as such, but you will feel, that you've had a drink. And this is particularly the case when you start getting a little bit older. I'm 34 years old now, so I quit drinking when I was 31. I found that any time after the age of 27, I only needed a couple of beers before the next day I felt fuzzy-headed and a bit run down. So waking up every morning and not feeling like that is so much better. I sleep so much better because I am fresh in my mind. I can get myself to sleep, go off to sleep pretty quickly without my mind my vision swirling or anything like that, and wake up the next morning feeling really fresh. The initial stages of me giving up alcohol, I lost a lot of weight. I lost, well, a lot of weight. I lost 10 kilos. Within that first sort of 6 months of me giving up alcohol, I lost 10 kilos. And it's plateaued since then. It's plateaued at the same point since then. But yeah, just from the amount of calories that I was cutting out from my intake, because we do not realise just how many calories are in alcohol, particularly if you're drinking beers. Beers and lagers, spirits, less calories, but beers and lagers. And then what are you putting with your spirits? If it's Coke and you're having Jack Daniels and Coke and several a night, then it becomes the Coke that's adding in that calories as well. So, you know, how many calories are we cutting out? If we're cutting out 10 pints from our week, that's probably 2,000 calories. Well, to lose a pound a week, you need to cut out 3,500 calories from your diet. So that's half a pound a week in alcohol alone. Couple that with putting some exercise and a little bit better diet in there, and plus it's the other things that go along with drink. You start drinking, I have a bag of nuts at the pub, or I'll have a packet of crisps or whatever, and then you find that you don't having them. So these things all add up into a initial weight loss. It doesn't keep going on because your body ends up stabilizing at its sort of basal metabolic rate. But yeah, that's what kind of happens in the start, is that as long as you're not replacing it with something else, then you will probably lose some weight if you were drinking a decent amount per week. Other things that it has kind of helped me with, I feel happier all of the time compared to what I was. I feel happier. Alcohol is a depressant. It is. It may, during the time of you drinking, because you get drunk, you feel like you are happier, but it's that come down afterwards. It is a depressant on your body. Your body wants to get rid of it, and it doesn't like it. It's a depressant. And coming off that and feeling fresh-faced all of the time and feeling like a little bit more confident in myself, especially because, like, as well, after a night of heavy drinking, even if I hadn't gained any weight, I would feel flabby and bloated and horrible throughout my stomach and my sort of gastric regions. So yeah, just cutting out that as well just makes you feel better about yourself. It makes you feel a better outlook on your life straight away just by cutting out that alcohol. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I've done a lot of waffling here, and there's going to be a lot of that on this channel because I just go on a stream of consciousness as I'm talking as to what I want to say. What I'm saying is I can't preach to you to give up alcohol. Everybody's well within their rights to continue drinking, and you know it's your body, your choice, or whatever. But it is incredibly beneficial to you and your health if you do consider giving up alcohol, and it gets a lot easier. If you're at the end of your dry January and you're thinking, "Oh, this is really hard. I really want to drink now," it gets easier. Like I say, I forget to fill in my app now that tells me how many days that I've been sober for. I forget to do it because I genuinely don't really think about drink anymore. And I can go to functions. I went to a friend's wedding and didn't have a drink. Had a couple of non-alcoholic beers. I don't even have non-alcoholic beers all that often now. I only like functions like that. I don't get it in the house or anything. Probably haven't had it in the house for about 18 months because, well, you don't drink alcohol for the flavour the majority of the time. So, I don't drink those non-alcoholic beers or those non-alcoholic ciders like I used to get me through the start, because I was using it as like a crutch of, it tastes kind of like it, so I can imagine that it is. And I'd do little things to try and trick myself as well. So instead of having a bottle of Beck's Blue in a pub, I never used to drink out of bottles. It used to be a pint of Carling or whatever lager there was. So I'd get two non-alcoholic ones, ask them to pour it into a pint for me, and then I'd have it as a pint. So it tricks my brain into, no, you're doing what you used to do. You are doing what you used to be doing. But you're not at all. So yeah, like I say, I can't convince you. If you're a heavy drinker, you enjoy your drink, that's absolutely fine. If you've ever considered giving up alcohol as being a way forward in your life for health benefits, for your own mental health, just because you've heard that you know that it is a good thing to do, I fully recommend it, because it has been an absolute life changer to me. Now, I'm not going to say that there's not a negative aspect to it. I don't see my friends nearly as much now whilst I'm sober as I did when I was drunk. I just don't. I don't necessarily get invited to things as much. I don't go out as often because I don't want to go out and spend stupid money on an orange juice. So I don't go out nearly as much and see my friends nearly as much as I used to. Whether that is a sign of getting older anyway, whether there was just whether our friends just don't meet up nearly as much anymore, but that's the way it is. But I also, have friends who also don't drink. So I can spend time with them and not feel any pressure of drink. Not that any of my other friends ever try to put pressure on me to have a drink. They all completely understand. But there is a thing of people hold back around me, I think. If I invite people over to my house and tell them to bring a drink with them, they'll bring a couple of cans and that's it. Whereas it used to be they'd bring a bottle of rum or something. So, maybe they hold back for my benefit, in which case, thank you very much, guys. If you do, you don't need to, but thank you. So yeah, my social life changed. It certainly changed when it came to drinking alcohol. But I don't consider it to be in a bad way at all. If that change is for the benefit of my health, then it's well worth doing. It's well worth doing, in my opinion. So yeah, that's my my spiel on dry January. Seriously, 50 days isn't far away from 31 days that you'll have done at the end of January. Another 19 days. What's that to you? You can save yourself a lot of money. You can potentially lose weight. You can make yourself feel happier. It's well worth giving a consideration to. If you're absolutely feeling like you really want to drink, go ahead. But if not, consider going a little bit longer. Consider keeping challenging yourself, because it is a challenge. It's difficult. There have been days where, I was coming home from work and really wanted a drink. And you have to have a fail-safe. You have to have a way that's going to stop you from doing that. And you have to figure that out for yourself. For me, I'm not one of these people who can go to the shop in my pajamas. I just can't do it. So I would get home from work, quickly shut the door behind me, go and get changed into my pajamas, because then I'm not going out. I'm not going to go and buy alcohol if I'm in my house in my pajamas. It's not happening. So I knew that was my way of coping with it. And it would get me through the day. And then the next day I'd be glad that I had done that. Glad that I'd made myself go that extra day. I could start drinking any day that I wanted. But I don't want to. It's not something that crosses my mind. And my goal here is to try and help improve people's lives. And without a doubt, this is something that improved my life. And if you were to do it, I know that it would improve yours as well. With that, thank you very much for watching. I hope everybody has sort of taken a little bit of something from this, from somebody who's got a little bit of experience on giving up alcohol. I will be doing more videos on alcohol because I will consider myself to be an alcoholic. And yeah, I will do more videos on this topic in the future, but it's not going to be all of the time. I appreciate third video on the channel and I'm already preaching, but I'm not trying to preach at all. It is entirely your choice. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope that you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.